And I really did after this weekend. I thought to myself, hey, you got to go in there and talk about these guys again.
It's a hard team to talk about. It really is.
I tweeted, it's a really hard team to cover. And you sent a text over the weekend that honestly, man, kind of blew my mind. And I felt it when you sent it. You know, sometimes you get a text and it like punches you in the mouth. And you're like, bro, you just summed up the entirety of the whole situation for me. So I had Paulie, it's a Saturday, 3:47 p.m. And back to 500. And then I had a very, very crass.
You don't need to read your text.
I'll amend it. I said if 500 was a woman, they'd make love to it.
They're very close.
Very
the Padres
close.
And 500. Very intimate.
500.
Intimately connected.
Yeah, they'd make sex with
intertwined,
it.
as it were,
and
with
then
500.
Ben, this is the one.
Oh, my God.
Hey, look at that, guys. 500.
500. Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. We're 2 games over 500. Let's drop these next 2 so that we can...
Pound town.
So, Benny writes this, and I'm telling you, since Saturday, 3:48, I've been thinking about nothing but this text. He says, I feel like nothing we ever say about this team is correct or meaningful. And you probably looked at it as like a throwaway comment. But what it did for me, it summed up the last 2 years to my core. Like, it went like, and I sat on it, and I sat with it, and I reread it, and I thought about it all week. I was playing baseball yesterday, thinking about that. And there's a certain ability that, like, I'd say national sports radio hosts have. There's an ability to say something off the wall and stupid. People rail you for it for 30 minutes, and then you move on with your life. You're making $1 million a year. You're on television. You're like, oh, the Mavericks are going to cruise in this series. They get smoked, and you're like, who cares? I'm wrong 90% of the time. I don't have that gene that lets me just forget about things that I say that I don't feel are dumb things at the time. I feel like they're actually smart things at the time. This team continues to prove everybody wrong. And that's the tough part, man. I sit with that a lot.
I've covered sports for long enough that I realize there are good teams that play bad for a while. There are bad teams that play good for a while. There's an up and down factor for every season and every team. But ultimately, almost every team will develop tendencies that you can mostly rely on. An identity, something. They're a team that steals a lot of bases. They're a team that does this well but doesn't do this well. And over, a few months, now that we're 2.5 months plus into the season, you should be able to identify some tendencies of a baseball team. I'm having still trouble doing this with the San Diego Padres. For a while, they hit well on the road, but they can't hit at home. They win on the road, they can't win at home. Well, they've completely 180 that now in the last week or two. Why? No idea. No idea why. And it's very difficult to understand, explain, and talk about on a daily basis when this team doesn't give you any anchors to really grab onto.
Not one, man. Not one. Except for average. Average. And when I say average, I mean mediocre 500. Chris Ello, 16 hours ago, sent a tweet. It said, why sweat it when it seems that 500 is all that's possible in exactly 2 years since June 17th of 2022? The Padres have played 346 games, including playoffs. Their record is 173 and 173. That is confounding. It's ridiculous. It makes you feel like the first thing I thought of when you sent that, Benny, this is not a shot at you at all because you didn't say that they do it. Your job at the roundtable is to ask questions and get responses. The first thing I thought of was we're sitting in there on Thursday after sweeping the A's, and Ben says, all right, so does everybody have a feeling now that maybe this team has turned the corner? You get that sweep out of the way, and everyone gave their answers, and I'm sitting there going, and my answer was, you got to show me a little bit more, right?
No.
But I didn't feel like, oh, man, what an idiot Ben is. Ben asked the question. We gave the answers. We gave what we thought. And I think it's so hard to handicap what this team is going to do on a nightly basis. You look at yesterday's game after dropping the first two, and you go, all right, Dylan Cease is on the bump. We're heavily favored in this game. We're going to roll with Dylan Cease. He's going to put a stop to this. And I know he struggled a little bit the last 6 starts maybe. But you feel like, all right, this guy's going to stop it. No, God, no. 4-0 before you blink. And it makes you feel like you're an idiot, really, covering this team. Really makes you feel like you're a dumbass.
If you had told me before the Mets series that it was going to end in a sweep, I would have said, okay, I'm like 80 to 90% sure that it's the Padres doing the sweeping, not getting swept based on what I saw last week. I'm not doing that anymore. You know what? If the Padres go to Philadelphia the next 3 days and they sweep the Phillies, I'm not letting myself get overly excited.
No,
about
because
it. It's good news.
All you're doing, though,
it's good news. But then they could come home next weekend and absolutely lose 2 out of 3 at home or all 3. You have to show me something over more than a week or two to tell me what you are, other than a 500 team.
I mean, with those numbers, 173 and 173, it's going to take more than a week or two for me, really. And
more than a week or two.
It's going to take more than a week or two of
and
good
by the
baseball.
way, that holds both ways as well. Everybody who is now, jumping off the bandwagon and saying, AJ, everybody needs to be fired. Wait 5 days, and now how do you feel?
Right.
Wait 5 more days. How do you feel after that?
We're in on selling. Oh no, we're in on buying at the deadline. Now we should probably sell. No, but we just took 2 or 3 from Philly. We probably should add. It's maddening. They're maddening. They're going to put me in a sanitarium. 173 and 173 over their last 346. That's who they are. It's just who they are, and they did not show up in New York at all. They never got off the plane in New York. And we said it on Friday, Benny. We were talking to Italian Paul when he was in, and he's like, or on Thursday, he's like, guys, it's the Mets. You guys are going to take care of business. I said, Italian Paul, they got 2 lefties on the bump. We have not been able to figure out lefties. He's like, and, this lefty's 0-2 with a 10 ERA in the month of June. That's Sean Manaea. And Quintana had been terrible, too, in June. No problem. You need to get right. We'll get you right. That's the team we are right now. We are the get you right squad. And I don't like being a fan of the get you right squad. I like to be a fan of a team that handles business. I'm sorry, man. Jose Quintana throwing 90 miles an hour up in the zone. You guys can't hit that. Manny, Toddy, all these guys. You can't hit that? Might be in the wrong business. I mean,
Tatis, who was the hottest baseball player on the planet for a week to 2 weeks in the start of June, all of a sudden goes 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts yesterday.
Yeah, Tatis was 1 for 12 in the series. Manny was 1 for 11 in the series. Solano 0 for 8. Solano couldn't miss. Crony 1 for 10. What are we doing here? Ha-Seong Kim 1 for 9. I mean, what in the world? What in the world? Again, you're not going up against the 3, but you're going up against 3 very average middling players, and you didn't show up again, and you got swept. You undid all the goodwill, all the good things you did. By the way, that you pulled 2 of those games out of your ass completely against the lowly A's. We said it. We said that's a red flag, but hey, you take the wins. You don't complain about wins. That's a huge red flag. I mean, credit to them for doing that, because it could have been a lot worse. But holy smokes, you got to beat those guys if you want to be a good team and not just an